We all love perfect games, we love the games that provide touching storylines, and we also love the ones with flawless combat system. All games have their own unique charm. Some are better in gameplay while others are better in graphics. That's why I have made a list of 35 perfect 10 out of 10 games that will keep you engaged for hours. The list is a mix of popular, underrated, single-player games. Every genre is included to suit everyone's taste. So, let's look at the first game on our list. Red Dead Redemption 2. It'd be a crime not to talk about the greatest Red Dead 2. This game is the literal definition of every gaming feature, such as a great storyline, engaging or interactive open world, multiple side quests, best characters, visuals, and graphics. Every moment in Red Dead is precious and memorable. Only the first chapter is sort of slow-paced, but everything else is nothing short of amazing. You can easily lose yourself in the open world and spend hundreds of hours without even focusing on the main storyline. Also, the ending is probably one of the best, as it's immensely satisfying and purely heartfelt. It felt like we had watched every moment of Arthur's life.
This area is off limits, okay?
You don't like visiting?
The open world is one of the best ever created. Every now and then we can stumble upon any random NPC and find ourselves in a brand new side mission. This is yet another Rockstar gem that will give you months of content if you explore every corner and find the secrets of the open world. Red Dead is a game for decades. This journey filled with memorable moments, great characters, amazing landscapes, engaging missions, taught us a lot of stuff and gave us one of the best possible endings. I won't spoil anything for you, but you definitely have to give it a shot if you haven't played it yet. Every moment in this game feels like a real-life movie. Rockstar made the open world full of details and visuals. Every NPC act like a real person. It's like they've got their own sub-story going on.
Hey there!
Ghost of Tsushima. Here comes another famous open world. I guess there's just no point talking about the greatness of this game. Everyone knows how amazing Tsushima is. Even my kid brother, who's 12 years old, liked this game just because of the beauty and the combat. Honestly, the only reason I played this game is because I'm a huge sucker for samurai and ninja games, so I just had to play it. In fact, even if someone who's not familiar with the samurai games should give it a try. Ghost of Tsushima showcases what it means to be a samurai in an open world. You have the freedom to roam around different terrains and engage in standoffs. The creators did an amazing job. They gave us something that we couldn't have expected from a samurai game. The open world is just well made with stunning areas filled with colors and details. There's plenty of side content such as side missions and collectibles. The story is obviously good as it tackles themes of honor and moral. The feeling of just riding on your horse and seeing the beautiful areas combined with the wind mechanics is surely mind-blowing. Now, I always prefer Sekiro because of the combat and the overall feeling, but Tsushima is a close second. If you love the open world, then Tsushima will be your best samurai game, but if you're a sucker for the combat and exciting boss battles, then you'll love Sekiro. That's it. This is the most important difference between these two games. Before we continue back into the video, I want to give a big shout out to Dragon Raja for sponsoring this content. So, hey folks, if you're looking for a game that's going to completely pull you into its world, then let me tell you about Dragon Raja. It's this insanely cool open world RPG that's got a bit of everything, cyberpunk vibes, fantasy elements, and graphics that'll seriously make you wonder how they packed it all into a mobile game. Now, they've just dropped this new update, and it's pretty wild. They've introduced the Dragon Rider class, and let me tell you, it's not just a name. This class lets you actually ride a dragon. Yeah, you heard that right. You can summon a dragon, hop on, and just wreak havoc from the skies. Plus, you get these super cool skills like Dragon Thrust, where you basically charge at your enemies with a spear or the spear dance, which honestly is as epic as it sounds. You're launching enemies into the air, shattering the ground beneath you. It's like being in your own action movie. But that's not all. There's this whole new dimensional realm you can explore with new levels and rewards waiting for you. And if you're a returning player, there's a sweet reward just for logging in, the Milky Berry Motor, which is kind of adorable, and yeah, it's absolutely free. So if you're even a little bit curious, I've got the download link right below. Seriously, go check it out whether you're on iOS, Android, or even PC. This game's got something for everyone, and trust me, once you start, it's hard to put down. God of War. Kratos is the perfect example of an amazing video game character. His journey from being a fierce, lone warrior to a devoted father is truly heartwarming. We've seen him go from a man driven by rage and vengeance to someone who deeply cares for his son, and it's been a remarkable transformation. The 2018 God of War is a masterpiece that delivers everything you could want in a game story, combat, and stunning cutscenes all rolled into one. This game is an experience from start to finish, where you feel Kratos' growth not just in power but as a character. The father-son journey with Atreus is filled with intense battles, memorable characters, and breathtaking environments that pull you in. As you upgrade Kratos' stats, you can really feel his strength growing, and by the end, he's an unstoppable force.
I will end you!
Now, Ragnarok is undoubtedly the best choice if you're craving more action, offering more than 50 epic boss fights. But there's just something about the 2018 installment that sticks with you. It's a game that leaves a lasting impact. If you haven't played it yet, you're missing out on one of the best gaming experiences out there. The way Kratos has evolved is so powerful, especially when you consider his brutal past. Seeing him embrace fatherhood and repeatedly call Atreus boy is a touching reminder of how much he's changed. And let's not forget that incredible second boss fight with Baldur. It's a jaw-dropping moment, setting the tone for the rest of the game by throwing you into a high-stakes battle within the first 30 minutes. It's clear right from the start that this game is something special. So, if you're in the mood for an unforgettable adventure, God of War is the game to dive into. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I love Tomb Raider and I'm a huge fan of the series. The recent trilogy is one of the best action-adventure game out there. All of the 3 games feature unique settings and are pretty great as they feature some awesome combat and a perfectly paced storyline. But for a 10 out of 10 pick, I would pick Shadow, honestly, because I really enjoyed it, but for most people, it would be either Rise of the Tomb Raider or Tomb Raider 2013. The game kicks off with a little bit of recap and the usual Lara looking through documents, stumbling upon something unique, which in this part is an ancient elixir of immortality.
Quem são vocês?
Now, this is just a kind of prologue, because the perfect start of the game is on a snowy mountain, where you're traveling with your best friend Jonah, and suddenly a snowstorm hits, giving us one of the best in-game cutscenes. From that point on, you enter a place where the NPCs are fighting with the Trinity, which is the villain organization of the game. In short, the entire story is about how you win and stop Trinity from acquiring the elixir. Now, the developers really outdid themselves and made some significant improvements. They perfected each and every feature from 2013's reboot and also added some other cool stuff. I'm just saying that Rise is one of the best games in the franchise. The 2013's release is basically a reboot and a great entry to get into the series. If you love some action combat plus a good storyline, then definitely you should give Rise a shot. The game's world is stunning. The graphics are top-notch, and the snowy environments are beautifully crafted. Also, I really like this new Lara, unlike others who hate the new character. She looks beautiful and is just perfect in my opinion. The tombs you explore are more intricate and rewarding compared to the previous game, which was a big plus for me. They're like little puzzle rooms that really make you think and feel like an adventurer. Overall, Rise of the Tomb Raider is a thrilling and immersive experience. If you liked the first game, you'll definitely enjoy this one.
You look terrible. Terrible, but happy.
I was right, Jonah. Dad was right. The divine source is real. I wish he was here to see this.
Uncharted 4. If you've played the previous Uncharted games, you already know the kind of epic adventures Nathan Drake gets into, but this one really takes it to a whole new level. First off, the story is just fantastic. It dives deep into Nate's past, bringing his long-lost brother Sam into the picture, which adds a whole new layer to the character dynamics. The whole game feels like you're playing through an incredibly well-made action movie. The pacing, the dialogue, the twists, it's all top-notch. Visually, it's stunning. Naughty Dog pulled out all the stops here. The environments are amazing, from lush jungles and ancient ruins to bustling cities and difficult mountains. There were times I just had to stop and take in the scenery.
Hey, brother! Get closer! Try!
Uncharted is one of those gems that will give you the best feeling of a treasure seeker and show you what kind of problems they face. There will be times when you'll scratch your head to solve the puzzles. You've got your climbing, shooting, and puzzle solving, but everything feels smoother and more polished. The grappling hook is a neat addition, adding some cool new ways to navigate the environments and engage in combat. Speaking of combat, it's as thrilling as ever. You can approach situations with guns blazing or take a stealthier route, which is pretty satisfying. All in all, Uncharted 4 is a masterpiece. It's got an engaging story, realistic graphics, and gameplay that's both fun and challenging. It's a game that shouldn't be missed whether you're a longtime fan of the series or just starting out for the first time. You've got to play the game by yourself to find out what I'm talking about. Also, a bonus tip would be to stay patient in the first few hours. After that, the game will surely become interesting.
Hang on, Nathan! They're right up on us! Going as fast as I can!
You good? Yeah.
Metal Gear Rising. I'll always be amazed by this game as it's the best spin-off I have ever played. Being as a hardcore Metal Gear fan, the Rising was such a fresh experience and felt like I'm the strongest ninja on the battlefield. The game offers so much, and you can't ever say that it's a disappointing title. Surely it's not your usual Metal Gear stuff, but the amount of fun you can have in this game is nothing short of awesome. As a robotic ninja, your main task is to reach to the final boss and kill him to stop the outrage. There is not much of a storyline here, as the game's main focus is to let the players enjoy a thrilling sense of fast-paced combat with slashing enemies into pieces. If I'm being honest, then this is one of those games that is a must-play for everyone if you're a fan of some hack-and-slash combat. I was immensely satisfied after finishing it, as the entire experience was jam-packed with difficulty and intense combat. Now, the developers did an amazing job perfecting everything so that the players don't get bored. They gave us a short campaign, but it was worth it as the cutscenes and combat felt outstanding. Also, this reminds me that Metal Gear Rising's another best highlight are the cutscenes. The game offers cinematic cutscenes with some of the best visuals that doesn't do justice with its release date. Judging by the look of everything, you can't tell that this game was made in 2013. Even after a decade, it's highly playable and quite underrated, so I hope that more players give a shot and experience the difficult combat.
Enemy sighted!
Bloodborne. I specifically chose Bloodborne as I have talked about other Souls games multiple times. Also, Bloodborne is a fan favorite and deserves to be called as a masterpiece. Unlike other games, even after getting better and leveling up, you will still have trouble defeating certain enemies in this game. Almost every Souls game has their own difficulty features, and Bloodborne comes on top. Briefly, Dark Souls has more bizarre area designs, Sekiro becomes easy once you learn the mechanics, and we all know Elden Ring is the easiest Souls game. Honorable mention also goes to Demon Souls and Mortal Shell. Now, within all these games, Bloodborne is the only one that comes on top in difficult and dark environments along with an awesome lore. Bloodborne stands out from other Souls-like games due to its brutal and gruesome themes. If you get easily stressed or scared, then this game is not for you. However, if you appreciate dark atmospheric horror, deep landscapes exploration, and serious combat, then Bloodborne is a fantastic game to play. The artistry in this game is breathtaking. You can spend your time simply exploring the map and getting stunned by the visuals. Also, it's a good feature that new players can just level up and get stronger, or if you want some thrill and excitement, then you can learn enemy attack patterns and just keep on progressing further without worrying about your stats. Overall, Bloodborne is a worthwhile experience and a must-play game for everyone, especially for those who owns a PlayStation. Marvel's Spider-Man. Now, I believe that you can put any modern Spider-Man game here, but I wanted to put the one that started it all. Marvel's Spider-Man is a game that can be considered as the reboot on modern gen consoles. The game had it all, including the OG villains. All three recent games have got their own important highlights. Miles Morales is a good choice because it features a new main character. On the other hand, Spider-Man 2 is famous because of Venom. Despite all this, my favorite will always be the 2018's version. There is just something peculiar about the game that makes it the best one from the series. The storyline and the open world are the two best things that Insomniac did stunningly. Skyrim. I'm so happy that I'm talking about this game once again. Skyrim is the godfather of RPG games. There are a lot of OG players who are still playing the game, and the modding community is pretty great. Apparently, Skyrim is one of the highest modded games. Now, I'm not saying that you must play this game because I know for sure that not all of you will enjoy it. The graphics and textures are outdated. In fact, there are a lot of great RPG games out there capable of rivaling this one. Hence, if you're in a mood for some high-end open-world RPG games, then I recommend playing Witcher 3 or Dragon's Dogma 2. Not gonna lie, Skyrim is a masterpiece, but in 2024, you can't just force someone to play it. Only the players who have finished all the major games and are looking to experience some old classic dragons and magical stuff should give Skyrim a shot. If you've never played it, you're in for a treat. This game is like a massive open-world fantasy sandbox where you can do almost anything you want. Imagine stepping into a medieval fantasy world filled with dragons, magic, and a ton of lore. That's Skyrim for you. The game starts off with the player saving himself from a dragon attack. Apparently you're a dragonborn, someone who can devour dragon souls and use their powers. The main story revolves around you trying to stop a dragon apocalypse, but honestly, that's just scratching the surface. The world is so vast and detailed that you can spend hundreds of hours just exploring, completing side quests, and uncovering secrets. The game is literally filled with a lot of stuff, and believe me, you'll wonder what's your in-game purpose. Are you supposed to kill a dragon? Or solve conflicts? Maybe even serve under the king? There's just a lot going on which sometimes becomes confusing. However, I'm sure that if you just give it a little time, you'll find out that the game is actually pretty awesome. One of my favorite things is just how alive the world feels. NPCs have their own routines and personalities. You might overhear a couple arguing about their finances in one town or witness a giant attacking a band of travelers in the wild. It makes every playthrough feel unique. Now, I'm not going to talk about the graphics. We all know that the game is pretty outdated, but you can easily fix this by installing the mods. Trust me, Skyrim looks much better with different types of enhanced mods. Sure, you can also play in vanilla if that's your jam. So, if you're into fantasy adventures with a mix of dragons and magic, Skyrim is definitely a game you should play. Just be prepared to spend a lot of time. Hollow Knight. At this point, practically everyone is aware of the magnificent locations and difficulty level of Hollow Knight. Personally, I believe this is one of the best Metroidvania games ever made. It has a variety of difficult enemies that will kill you multiple times. It has all the open world elements, including hidden items and secrets. As such, you can explore freely and discover some interesting hidden features throughout your journey. However, there can be times when you stumble upon some high-level bosses in hidden areas. This way, the game keeps you interested throughout the entire playthrough. It always reminds you that there is always someone stronger than you, no matter what level you are at. The story of Hollow Knight is intriguing and continues to improve over time. Some players also claim that boss fights are overly difficult since they need accurate timing. As for me, if you want to get into this game, prepare yourself for a lot of grinding. Surprisingly, after a closer look at the gameplay, you probably think that the game is quite short. But the main story of Hollow Knight will take you more than 25 hours to complete, excluding side content. The game has plenty of blood, dark environments, and mature themes. You may feel slightly bored, but if you enjoy exploring and difficulties, Hollow Knight is an excellent pick. Nevertheless, despite being such an amazing game, it's sort of sad to see that we still haven't gotten any confirmed updates or release dates about the sequel. Fans like me have been waiting for a long time for the release of Silksong, but things are looking up and we might get the sequel in fall 2024 or in early 2025. Maybe the sequel will get the original game more recognition. Cyberpunk 2077. You knew that this was going to happen. Imagine a game where you're thrown into this insanely detailed neon-soaked city that's like a mashup of all the coolest sci-fi movies you've ever seen. Yep, that's Cyberpunk for you. CD Projekt Red gave us another great open world game that is on the level of Witcher 3, but is set in a futuristic world. I guess some players are still thinking that the game is bad and there are still glitches or bugs. However, it's 2024 now, everything has been fixed, and the game is nothing like when it was first released. You start off as V, a mercenary in Night City, and right from the start, you're hit with this overwhelming sense of freedom and immersion. It's like the game opens everything for you and you can do basically everything. It's like GTA but in a much more advanced world. One of the best things besides the graphics are the modifications. Even the character creation feels too much. I'm sure some of you must have spent hours just creating your favorite character. The in-game is also filled with customizations. You can do a lot of stuff with your human body, well, if you can still call it human. Also, not just you, but even the NPCs have got their own modifications. Some are using prosthetics, some are using robotic eyes, memory chips. There's just a lot of stuff that I can't even begin to describe. Nevertheless, I think you should all give it a try. If you love playing open world games, this will be a great time to do before CD Red releases another masterpiece. Cyberpunk 2077 is an immersive RPG that sucks you into its world. Whether you're there for the story, the exploration, or the chaotic combat, there's something for every gamer to enjoy. Obviously, it's without a doubt that fans who love to explore sci-fi open worlds will find this game fascinating, as there's a lot to discover and interact with. You can easily spend over 100 hours in this game and will still miss something. This proves that the developers went all out and provided as much content as they could for the players. Elden Ring. It's a genre-defining game, and we will probably be getting similar games in the future rather than the good old Dark Souls, although I do recommend the fast travel option for new players who are just stepping out into the Souls games. So, if you just want to complete the game and don't want a hardcore experience, then you can absolutely choose the fast travel option. The experienced already know the downsides of fast travel in Elden Ring, as it's the first time we got an open world Souls game. So, using fast travel is out of the question. There's so much to see in the game, such as different types of enemies, new areas, finding weapons and armor, and so on. Nevertheless, I know that most of you will depend on the internet to find certain items and weapons. So, if you decide not to use fast travel, you can easily find those high stats weapons while spending a great deal of time. I know a lot of players who have spent countless hours in the game even after finishing the main storyline. It's like the developers decided to release the DLC after 2 years. They knew that it was going to be huge. It's almost like From Software gave us another new Souls game. There are more difficult bosses, new areas to explore, new weapons and armor. In all honesty, Elden Ring is a great game, it absolutely is, but for some players it's way too difficult. That's simply because they never tried Souls games. As a veteran, I can say that the game is certainly hard, but that's another reason to love it. You don't have the right to call a game bad or criticize it just because you can't defeat a boss. The combat is intense and unforgiving, but that's what makes every victory feel earned. It's not just about mashing buttons, you have to think about every move, dodge and strike. Boss fights are epic, with these monstrous creatures that feel like they've been pulled from the depths of some dark legend. Days Gone. You will never expect what Days Gone contains as a post-apocalyptic open-world game. There's just something about it that made it such a huge deal. Also, I don't know why some people are still calling this game underrated. I think that it's perfectly rated and a lot of players have heard about it. It's not much of a hidden gem. Still, I do want more players to give this one a try. Days Gone has got to be the best zombie game ever with the concept of an open world. The way everything feels is just fascinating. You have got your own bike, which in my opinion is the best feature the developers have added. You feel like an absolute beast while riding your bike in a zombie-filled world. Also, you can customize and make modifications. It's so good to upgrade the bike and add new silencer, tires, handle colors, design. The bike is your lifeline. You use it to get around, store weapons, and even outrun freaker hordes. The game opens with a really nice scene with you riding through the open world with your brother, who's not just a simple NPC, but someone who truly stands out and helps you in various ways. Now, I have talked about the best feature, the bike. Let's talk about the combat and storyline. Days Gone's story is pretty nice. Your main mission is to find out what happened to your wife after the zombie virus. While you're on this mission, you will be doing a lot more for other survivor camps and even battle the Reapers, who are just normal people who happen to go insane and lose their sanity. Combat in Days Gone is intense. You've got a variety of weapons at your disposal, from melee weapons like bats and machetes to firearms and explosives. The freaker hordes are no joke either. They're these massive swarms that can easily overwhelm you if you're not careful. Sifu. Sifu is one of those games that you can play anytime without being too focused on the storyline. It's one of those action games where you just need to boot up your console and start smacking enemies. Sure, there are often times when the game feels repetitive, but it's only because of you dying several times. Sifu is about learning mechanics and perfecting dodge or parry. The game introduces a mind-blowing concept where you will age every time you die, and the more you age, the more effective your attacks will become by compromising the overall health. To this day, I admire the developers for making such a fine game with zero flaws. I know that there are some players who call this game boring and repetitive, but you must understand that the core focus of Sifu is to die and get better. So, if you are dying too many times and quitting the game, then you can't say that it's because of the repetitive missions. It means that you lack skill and need more practice. I'm one of those players who definitely had a tough time beating the game in my first playthrough, but after that everything becomes quite easy. Low-key, I recommend dodging the attacks instead of parrying in case you are having a hard time. Now, there are so many great things that make Sifu great, but my favorite will always be the combat and weapons. It was such an awesome feeling to use different kinds of martial arts combined with several weapons. Also, it's nice to see that every area is different and every final boss has their own movesets. Sifu is not like your usual RPG or high-level AAA title. It's just a game that brings a refreshing feeling and doesn't complicate things. Your main goal is to beat down the enemies and complete the game while keeping a check on your age. Sekiro. The dark, twisted world of Sekiro, where you're a one-armed ninja slicing through enemies like a hot knife through butter, except the butter fights back, and sometimes it's on fire. You play as the wolf, a shinobi with a mission to rescue his kidnapped lord in a beautifully grim version of feudal Japan. Your journey is filled with difficult landscapes, from majestic castles and serene temples to creepy forests and snowy mountains. Each environment is beautifully designed, pulling you into a world that's as dangerous as it is stunning. The combat in Sekiro is the game's crown jewel. Forget about button mashing, this is all about precision and timing. Every swing of your sword, every deflect, and every stealth kill needs to be perfect. One gamer described it as a ballad of death where every movement is calculated and every victory feels like winning an Olympic medal. The posture system forces you to stay aggressive, breaking your opponent's stance before going in for the kill. It's a relentless dance of life and death, and yes, you'll die a lot. Speaking of dying, the game's difficulty is no joke. It's harder than trying to explain the plot of a Christopher Nolan movie to your grandma. I have utmost respect to the developers for making this game. So, you can't just rush your way and kill everyone. I completed the game in the first 5 days, hence you can pretty much guess how many times I must have died. Now, one thing I want to point out is that there's a lot of content or hidden secrets you're probably going to miss in your first playthrough. That's why I recommend trying the new Game Plus and exploring everything. It's so good to stumble upon a new boss, find a new prosthetic tool, discover a new area. Sekiro is not just about combat, it's got a lot of cool stuff, same as the other Souls games. God of War Ragnarok. In God of War Ragnarok, Kratos is back with more action and a ton of new boss fights, even more than in the 2018 game. This time you'll see Kratos going all out, battling against gods, monsters, and everything in between. It's definitely one of the best God of War games, especially for newer fans who can now experience Kratos' epic journey on modern consoles with incredible visuals. I know some people might still say the 2018 game is the ultimate God of War, but trust me, Ragnarok really changes the game. It doesn't just have better graphics and visuals, it also includes over 50 boss battles, which is pretty amazing. Honestly, I had my own doubts before playing it. I was so hooked on the previous game that I didn't think anything could beat it. But Ragnarok gave us everything we wanted and even more. It's one of those sequels that truly improves on the original with new elements and exciting changes. You get to see Kratos in full berserk mode, fighting everything in his path, which is both thrilling and satisfying. I think the sequel does a great job of developing the father-son relationship. Their bond is one of the key parts of the story, and it really shines in this game. The biggest reason to play Ragnarok is that it wraps up the Norse saga. This game brings a fitting end to the Norse mythology storyline, which has been a huge part of the series. I'm really excited to see what new stories and adventures future God of War games will bring now that this chapter is closed. I don't know how many of you guys know, but it's possible that developers have given us some hints in the Valhalla DLC. Towards the end, Tyr fights with Kratos and brings out different weapons, each belonging to a certain country or period. So I'm not sure, I'm just speculating here, but we probably will go in the Japanese, Egyptian, and Mexican. So let's see what happens. I just hope they make it more interesting this time. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I can't express how amazing this game is. As someone who never played the old classic Final Fantasy games, it was a dream come true to finally play as Cloud Strife in the remake. The main reason I started playing Final Fantasy games was because I absolutely loved the look of Cloud and Noctis. Their hairstyles, outfits, and Cloud's huge, iconic sword looked so cool and awesome that I couldn't resist. Playing my first Final Fantasy game for that reason might sound small, or even trivial to some, but it was enough to get me hooked.
Drop the weapon!
Go ahead. Let's go.
Sure, some players love the rebirth and the continuation of the story, but there was something uniquely special about the remake that made everyone go crazy with excitement. Maybe it's because we were getting a remake of the beloved, fan-favorite Final Fantasy VII after such a long time. The anticipation was through the roof, and thankfully, the developers didn't disappoint. They delivered a fantastic and promising game. My favorite parts of the remake are undoubtedly the stunning cutscenes and the incredible soundtrack. The music really adds to the emotional impact of the game, and the visuals are just breathtaking. However, I'm not a big fan of the turn-based combat system. I prefer action-packed, real-time combat like you find in third-person games. Even though the combat wasn't exactly my style, the game is still amazing in every other aspect. There are so many awesome-looking moments that captivate you and make you a fan of Final Fantasy series. Despite all this, Final Fantasy VII Remake is the prime choice and definitely a 10 out of 10 games. The remake enhanced all the visuals, details, and graphics, so the new gen fans will also be able to experience the classic series on the modern consoles. If you're playing Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time, you're surely in for a treat and will absolutely love the experience.
Job's a job. Let's do this.
Last of Us Remake. I can't stress this game enough. This is a peak adventure with almost no downsides. Everything is perfect, whether it be the gameplay, the graphics, the storyline. Every feature of Last of Us is soothing and straight up awesome. Now, I guess there will be some players who will be all negative about this game just because of some minor issues, or maybe they just prefer the sequel. However, that's not our problem. I'm confident that even if you are not a big zombie fan, this game will still provide you with one of the craziest heartfelt experiences. Honestly, there are only a few games that showed the zombie genre in a perfect manner, such as Days Gone, Dying Light, Dead Island. Now, among all of these, Last of Us comes on top as it combines several major features that makes this game stand out from your usual zombie types. There is never a dull moment as it's filled with zombie killing, story moments, and visuals. If I must summarize this game in one line, then it would be that this is a game that makes you feel like you're playing a top-rated big-budget zombie game. That's it. This is all you need to know before you start playing it. If you're skipping this game just because of the zombies or that the game is overrated, which of course it is not, then you couldn't be wrong. Last of Us is a must-play game, especially in 2024. Devil May Cry 5. DMC5 is the definition of unstoppable awesomeness. The sharp dialogue and memorable punchlines make you feel like no monster stands a chance against you. With devilish arm, intense sibling rivalry, and thrilling battles, this game shows you just how fun it can be to defeat monsters in style while enjoying amazing cutscenes. The Devil May Cry series has always been known for its unique features, and while the previous games had their own charm, this one takes everything to the next level. The developers have polished everything and given us a fantastic tribute by including all the main characters. Playing DMC5 was a blast, especially with its high-level graphics and smooth gameplay. The best part was getting to control all the main characters throughout the game. Each mission felt fresh and exciting, and the final battle was nothing short of spectacular. The showdown between Virgil and Dante was the culmination of so much build-up from previous games, making it incredibly satisfying to finally see their rivalry come to a close. This game is a perfect example of how hack and slash games should be done. Using the various powers of the characters from Nero's Devil Arm to Dante's Sparta was a lot of fun. What's your favorite Dante weapon? Mine would have to be the nunchucks and the bike. Overall, Devil May Cry 5 offers a complete DMC experience. It captures the essence of the series so well that you don't even need to play the earlier games to enjoy it. The 5th installment is a comprehensive package with everything updated and enhanced. And of course, you can't forget Dante's Michael Jackson dance moves. What more could you ask for? Metro Exodus. Well, now let's talk about some hardcore post-apocalyptic action. Exodus is the best game in the series. Everything has been taken up a notch. The developers went all out creating an immersive world consisting of various environments along with an engaging storyline and characters. Now, when you first think of post-apocalyptic games, then most likely you think of barren lands, destroyed buildings, or some kind of virus where you're just trying to survive or finding a cure. However, trust me when I say this, Metro Exodus is so much more than that. Unlike the previous Metro games, here you're not just traveling in the tunnels. The game gives you a big open world which sometimes feels sort of linear because of how everything is arranged. You play as Artyom, whose main job is to help the other survivors by completing certain tasks and keep a check on the train. I forgot to mention, but in this game all the survivors live on a train as the outside conditions are not safe, therefore it's essential that everything flows smoothly for everyone's survival. Now, you must have gotten the picture. Metro Exodus is all about traveling to different locations ensuring the survival of humanity. Even though there's a lot of good stuff in this game, there are only 3 things that I absolutely love. The first one is the cutscenes. The game literally has some of the coolest cutscenes that will almost give you the vibe of a movie. My second best thing is the environments. Unlike other apocalyptic games, you don't just have completely destroyed areas, instead you'll be traveling through various landscapes. Finally, the last thing that makes the game more amazing is the storyline and the characters. At first it looks a very simple and kind of slow-paced game, but the more you progress, the more it starts to make sense. You'll find it heartwarming as the game makes you get to know several characters and share a bond. The overall storyline is also something that you can never expect from a post-apocalyptic game. Infamous Second Son. Infamous is renowned for its incredibly cool superpowers, offering a gameplay experience that feels like being a Spiderman made of concrete and neon. In this game, you get to navigate a vast open world dominated by enemies, and your goal is to tackle various situations while completing a range of engaging missions. A standout feature of the game is the karma system, which adds a unique layer of depth. You can't just go on a reckless rampage and harm innocent civilians without facing consequences. The game carefully monitors your actions, and your choices will have a direct impact on how the story unfolds, including changes to cutscenes and mission outcomes. While it's somewhat disappointing that you can't unleash your powers on NPCs in the same way you can in GTA or Prototype, the game remains highly enjoyable for those who love parkour, free running, and displaying impressive superpowers. Each of the 4 available powers is distinct and serves a specific purpose, making the gameplay both varied and engaging. The protagonist looks incredibly cool when using these powers, especially with the video and smoke abilities. Most of the enemies you encounter are either human soldiers or robotic vehicles, adding to the excitement and variety of the challenges. If you're looking for an open world game where you can have a blast running around and using superpowers, Infamous is definitely a game you'll want to check out. Resident Evil 4 Remake. My all-time favorite game from the series. Look, I love survival games, but there was just something different about the 4th that made me go crazy. All that action and combat felt extremely satisfying. It was as if I'm the god of the zombie world. If you played the original, you're in for a treat because they've nailed that balance between nostalgia and fresh content. I'm not gonna go there as to which is better, the original or the remake. Just know that there are a lot of players who enjoyed the remake, as it's not possible for everyone to play the original because it's quite old and the graphics are outdated. This time, Capcom really outdid themselves in terms of graphics. The attention to detail in the environments, the character models, and the lighting, it all looks so crisp and immersive. Every area has been upgraded to meet the modern console requirements. The atmosphere is just dripping with tension and that classic Resident Evil vibe. The developers have kept the core mechanics and modernized them for an enhanced experience. The camera feels smooth, and the controls are tight as well as responsive. They've added some new mechanics too, like a parry system which adds a layer of strategy to combat. Speaking of which, the enemies are way more aggressive and intelligent. The Ganados will swarm you, and they've got some new tricks up their sleeves that keep you on your toes.
Leon, you know I don't work in town. Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what.
Look, all I'm trying to say is that if you prefer some great deal of action combined with great graphics, then this is your best choice. Low-key, we all know that Resident Village has much better graphics. So, of course that's one of my reasons to love this game, as this time it's not just about running from the tyrant. Leon's still got his cheesy one-liners, which I love. It's part of what makes him such an iconic character. And Ashley, she's a lot more bearable this time around. They've really fleshed out her character and made her more involved in the gameplay without being annoying. Overall, the Resident Evil 4 remake is a fantastic reimagining of a classic. It's got the right mix of old and new, with enough surprises to keep you hooked from start to finish. It's a masterclass in how to do a remake right. Kena Bridge of Spirits. I have talked about this game countless times on this channel. If I'm being honest, then I never would have thought that I would be mentioning a double-A game multiple times. However, all my opinions shattered as I find Kena to be extremely beautiful. The game is an example of how well small gaming studios can do with a low budget. These days when games are filled with microtransactions and other stuff, it's such a nice feeling to enjoy some decent gaming and just let yourself loose in the stunning visuals and soundtracks. Some players are skipping out on this game for silly reasons, which I think is kind of weird, as Kena showcases some quality visuals and a colorful environment.
You know any tricks, Kena?
The game has everything in it. There's a balanced amount of action combat, stunning visuals, seamless cutscenes, engaging storyline, and a loving main character. I believe that everything fits perfectly, making the entire game a balanced experience. If I talk a little bit of the gameplay or storyline, then you're basically a little girl exploring a forest and helping the spirits. That's it. This is kind of the easiest explanation of the plot. You're on a journey to explore and see different parts of the map while battling the creatures or monsters, ultimately helping the spirits. Not gonna lie, it's a great game and definitely worthy of playing if you want to take a break from hardcore action stuff and want some peaceful, gorgeous gameplay. Kina is the best choice.
I can see that. You both look very strong. Do you know who that spirit was with the horned mask?
We don't know, but when he shows up, the girl's poison grows stronger.
Hifi Rush. I remember being shocked after playing this game and having a tremendous blast seeing the cutscenes and animations. Hifi Rush is a rhythm-based game that is all about anime-style fast-paced action gameplay. You will be thrilled to see what the developers did in this game. The animations look awesome and the dialogues complement the overall style. My favorite feature of this game are its banger soundtracks and music. Every single music is perfectly suited for every cutscene or gameplay. Unlike some other games out there, Hifi Rush will never let you get bored because you will get hooked to its soundtracks. Along with this, the game also has some of the coolest boss battles with distinct designs. Tell me in the comments about your favorite boss. Nevertheless, the game is a go to choose for those who prefer anime style games, but yeah, Hifi Rush will surely provide an immersive experience even if you are new to the genre. The story is entertaining with some twists and turns.
Let's rock, big boy.
Now, let's talk about some other major highlights of this game. The first one is that the characters are well written. The dialogues and voice acting are one of the finest I have seen. The second one is the ability to immerse the players in constant motion, much like the beats in a rock song. Some of the combo attacks in Hifi Rush is at the level of games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. All this proves what Bethesda can do. I am just hoping they also release the new Elder Scrolls next year. Anyways, unlike other third-person games, Hifi Rush will always keep you hooked to your seats, and the fast-paced action takes the cake.
Anyone see the guy that did this?
That's the defect!
What? No, I was just... Well...
Prince of Persia series. Honestly, I have no words to describe this series. I am talking about all the Prince of Persia games. This is a series that started it all for Ubisoft. I have so many amazing childhood memories with Pop. Tell me what's your favorite game from the series in the comments. Mine is Two Thrones. All the games have their own pros and cons, but I loved the Dark Prince transformation in Two Thrones. So this is why it's my all-time favorite Pop game. I really believe that among all these amazing games out there, some of us still haven't played this OG series, so this will be a great time to play the Prince of Persia for the first time or even replay it for the nostalgia. Nevertheless, it's great to see that Ubisoft is making a new Sands of Time remake, but I am not sure if it's going to happen. I hope that we get to see more updates regarding the remake.
My arm! What's happening? What has the Vizier done to me? I don't...
Prince of Persia is a series that introduced wall running and parkour moves which captivated us throughout our playthrough. It was awesome to kill enemies with different combo attacks. To this day, the bosses of all Pop games are still considered as well designed. The series had it all with its area designs, enemies, storyline, weapons, puzzles, and movesets. I know that I will always regret Ubisoft going with the Assassin's Creed and forgetting about the OG Prince of Persia. At least after all this time, we should get a new full-blown game and not a remake. Although by seeing all the hate and negative reviews regarding Ubisoft cause of the recent changes, I believe that the company needs to do something else than just Star Wars and new EC games to win back the trust of the players. Anyways, who knows what will happen in the future. Let's hope we at least get the remake of Sands of Time in next year. Yakuza 0. I think we all have our different reasons about which game is the best, or in this case, which is more immersive. Yakuza is a series that anyone can play if they have a thing for open world exploration. The series' focus is to provide a great story combined with great characters and side activities. Every game in the series is packed with plenty of side stuff to do besides the main storyline. It's crazy to think that players can spend many hours helping the NPCs, engage in fight tournaments, cabarets club, and so much more. Now, I have mentioned this in several videos, but I can't just stop admiring what the developers did in this game. At first, Yakuza feels like a very normal game set in a Japanese environment. However, the more you progress or explore, the more amazing things start uncovering. The game has a habit of throwing side quests when you're in the middle of free roam or main missions.
に文句でもあんのかよ。あ？おい、なんか言ったらどうなんだ。しか。悪いけど死んでもらうぜ。なんなんだ。
To this day, I can confirm that there must be some stuff that I missed or never tried. This alone explains the level of immersion and content you're going to experience in this series. Now, the most important question is with which game you should start. Start with Yakuza 0, then Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza Kiwami 2, Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 remastered, and then Yakuza 6, The Psalm of Life. After that, you should play Judgment, which is not really connected to the Yakuza games, but still is set in the same universe. After that, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Then Lost Judgment, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and finally Yakuza Ishin. Titanfall 2, one of the best FPS underrated games of all time. Titanfall 2 can be called a masterpiece because every feature of this game is excellent, whether it be the storyline, the gameplay, the graphics, and even the weapons. The game is more refined and polished than its prequel. There are no glitches and the graphics are way better than the first one. Also, Titanfall 2 is nothing like Call of Duty or Modern Warfare games. It's something different and new in its own way. The mechanics are smooth and fun, it's very fast-paced, and every kill feels rewarding. The main story is spectacular, unique, and emotional. Along with this, both Pilot and Titan gameplay feel insanely satisfying, each containing their own benefits or pros and cons. Honestly, if anything that deserves to be called the best in this game, then it will be the Titanfall story. I admire the writing and how emotional it is towards the end, and the bond between Jack and BT will never be forgotten. The campaign for sure deserves a remaster or at least a third sequel. Another key element is the coolest moves and powers that different Titans have. Take my word for it, just start playing the game and you will instantly get hooked and soon find yourself completing every mission or playing multiplayer for hours upon hours. The leveling up progression system is rewarding, giving you access to more weapons and tons of abilities for different playstyles.
This'll be interesting.
No Man's Sky. It's awesome to see how far No Man's Sky has come from its release. I remember the game had so many issues and was completely different at the time of its release than what it looks now. To be honest, I was never a fan of space exploration games, but this game does offer great content and beautiful visuals that will make you feel like it's not your usual boring space exploration where you're only seeing the black universe in your spaceship. Your main goal in No Man's Sky is to explore as much as you can and see different planets or galaxies. It's one of the biggest games where there's no limitation to the map size. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the concept of procedurally generated areas. Briefly, it's when the game automatically generates playthrough areas or landscapes with the help of AI or the source code. In this way, players will never run out of areas to explore and will always experience something new while keeping the boredom aside. Anyways, if you guys are a big fan of exploration and wants to see different kinds of visuals or objects, flora and fauna, creatures, then don't look further as No Man's Sky is your best choice. You will be able to spend over 200 hours and will still find new things. This is literally a never-ending game. No Man's Sky was my first game when I found out about the concept of procedurally generated areas. Max Payne. This list won't be perfect if we don't mention OG Max Payne. In fact, we have already mentioned this game in our previous videos. I can't begin to describe the love I have for Max Payne. I will recommend this game to every new player who is a fan of linear shooting games. Also, the game will give you great nostalgia, so it'll be a perfect pick for fans like me as well. I recently completed this game and I can confidently say that it's the craziest experience I had in a long time. The developers did an amazing job creating this game, even in 2024. The game has the potential to give a strong competition to some of the modern games. What makes Max Payne special are the level designs, multiple weapons, and the storyline. Also, we can never forget the slow motion feature. I mean, even to this day, it's still awesome, and not many games have created something similar to it. You won't believe me, but I promise that even someone like me who has completed all the Souls game had a tough time beating the game on hardest difficulty. This difficulty thing enhances the experience to the next level with limited ammo and painkillers. Also, I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet, but there has been talk in the community that Remedy is working on remaking the Max Payne series. Nevertheless, the mods make the game brand new with a touch of improved visuals and textures. It's a little sad that most new gamers don't play these games.
Home free. This way. What the hell?
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Sometimes I even feel like I'm over-exaggerating, but it's just so awesome. Witcher 3 has one of the best stories in gaming. It's almost unbelievable that even a decade-old game has more detailed environments, objects, NPCs than some of the new ones. The world feels super alive, and every NPC is doing something. It could be at the level of the Red Dead, but something that's set in a world of monsters, magic, and kingdoms. There's also combat which truly feels like on peak as you have got a lot of stuff. Your inventory is huge, consists of weapons, magic potions, tools, items, and armor. Besides the quests, there's also a nice feeling to venture into the open world and look for certain items, grind for the money. It really adds depth and keeps the gameplay fresh. Buying and upgrading stuff has always been one of my favorite features of RPG games. All I'm trying to say is that Witcher is different. Some of the quests aren't what they seem like. A simple mission of getting rid of ghouls can easily turn into getting lost in a dungeon for hours. It's definitely one of those games that will keep you engaged and will always throw something at you to keep those fingers moving. Combat is yet another aspect where you'll need to always keep your fingers on your controller. There are a lot of moves, critical hits, combos, spells, everything kind of adds up and you'll find yourself staying vigilant. It's challenging, but once you get the hang of mixing swordplay with signs, it feels incredibly rewarding. It's so good to explore new areas and stumble upon new types of enemies or mini bosses. I mean, the game's core concept is for you to explore and complete quests. So it's obvious that every now and then you might need to kill a bunch of beasts, help locating NPCs, finding an item, and a lot more.
Waited until you found me, but well, you know me. Patience has never been my strong suit. It's good to see you, Geralt.
Sleeping Dogs. The game Sleeping Dogs, where the streets of Hong Kong are your playground and danger lurk around every corner. Picture yourself as a cop who's just as comfortable busting crime rings as he is ordering a plate of pork buns. Sleeping Dogs is a game that keeps you on the edge of your seat and laughing till your sides hurt. Just watch out for those pesky health inspectors when you're enjoying your favorite street, and no one wants to end up on the wrong side of a food poisoning investigation. Explore the vibrant and bustling city of Hong Kong, from its jam-packed open world to its neon-soaked buildings, all while not trying to mess up your dual identity. Now, the game contains fast-paced hand-to-hand combat where every punch feels like a symphony of bone-crunching awesomeness. Plus, the car chases are heart-pounding, zooming through the streets, and watch out for those NPCs who seem to have a death wish. In all the chaos, there's room for some good old-fashioned fun. Take a break from the crime, fighting to sing your favorite songs at a karaoke bar. And don't forget the mini-games, illegal street racing, martial arts tournaments, and even betting on cockfights. I know what you are thinking, but let's just say try it out, man. It's not as you think, it's magnificent. Sleeping Dogs is the game that had the finest potential of becoming the next GTA. Also, in some ways, it's much better than Grand Theft Auto. It's got a bit of everything, and it all comes together so well. There is never a dull moment here. You will realize why I am praising it so much once you give it a try. It's sad to see that not many players know about this game and the fact that we never got a sequel. If you love open world games with a solid story and lots of action, Sleeping Dogs is definitely worth your time.
Realizing I should have never dropped out of art school. I could have made it. I could have been a real somebody. Thank you for showing me the light, officer.
I want to give you a chance, Shen, but you have to work with me. Then maybe I can cut you a deal.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. How can we forget about the OG RPG game? Legend of Zelda is just really, and I mean a really great open world game that has everything to hook you from start to finish. From the moment you wake up as Link in the Shrine of Resurrection, the game just draws you in. The world of Hyrule is massive and incredibly detailed. It gives you this incredible sense of freedom, where it can climb anything, go anywhere, and the way the environment reacts to your actions is just mind-blowing. Sure, some players have different opinions about this game, but you just need to know that the game is counted among some of the best open world RPG games for a reason. Therefore, it's no doubt that there must be a lot amazing stuff that made it so popular. Also, the new Tears of Kingdom is being loved by millions of players. One of the coolest aspects is how the game encourages exploration. There are shrines everywhere, and each one is like a little puzzle box waiting to be solved. Sometimes you'll find them by accident while wandering, or you'll see one off in the distance and just feel compelled to go check it out. Now, not just the shrines, there's a lot more to explore. The whole point of the game is to venture into the open world and see different places or kill different monsters. This is a game that's gonna devour your time, and you'll be able to spend over 100 hours and will still feel like you missed something. Also, how can we miss talking about the combat? It's super fun too, as you get a variety of weapons, each with its own feel and strategy. The durability system might seem annoying at first, but it really forces you to think about your encounters and manage your resources. Plus, there's something immensely satisfying about picking up a random goblin's weapon and using it against him. Nevertheless, this is literally one of those great OG games that you must play if you're a fan of the open world RPG games. The open world feels alive with all the NPCs, wildlife, and dynamic weather. Sometimes you'll just be walking through a field and a thunderstorm will roll in, forcing you to rethink your approach. Or you'll be scaling a mountain and see a dragon flying by. It's those moments that really make the game feel special. Alright, this finishes our list of the 35 perfect 10 out of 10 games. Now, keep in mind that by 10 out of 10, I don't just mean the rating, I mean the actual game's features or concepts. Some of these games have great storylines while some have perfect gameplay. Sometimes, if you don't like a certain game from this list, then it's mainly because it's not your favorite genre or you need to spend more hours into it. I tried really hard to include only the best ones that will suit every gamer's taste. Anyways, if you've made it this far, then please subscribe as I'm close to reaching 20,000 subscribers, and join my Discord for helpful gaming content.